Roll call.
You've already bestowed upon us, Lord, and the many prayers you've already answered for us, Lord, in regard to this beautiful community we have here in Lovington. We ask that you continue to guide us, Lord, in the right direction, Lord, as a commission, as a community, and as a city that we know that you love and adore because we are all your children, Lord, and we just ask you to continue to bless us, Lord, with your presence. And we ask this in your precious Son, Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the zeal symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Amen. Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Consideration of minutes of August 13, 2018. Do I have a motion? Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner staff report. White.
Mayor and Commissioners, I have nothing to report at this time.
Any questions by the board?
I just want to ask you, White, how are we coming out to we getting that stuff moved on to the farm?
We actually, we contacted, Miguel de la Cruz contacted the landfill, and they are unable to receive the material, but we are slowly trying to spread what we have out there and currently trying to get the rest of it moved out. So he has contacted a couple of the landscapers. There is one that's working at the wellness center, and he is taking, I believe he's came to God, about 6 big old dump trucks of it currently right now, and have them kind of distribute it around. So it is slowly, but it is going out.
That's good. That's good. Thank you.
But it.
Do you have any dirt that the city's giving away, you know, like
We got compost, which is leftover goods.
I want sand.
It's made up of the poop. That's his way to put it out there.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Gary.
Your Mayor and Commission, I have nothing new to reporting also.
Any questions by the commission? Julie?
Nothing to report, sir.
Anna?
Nothing to report, sir.
Commission meeting, nothing to report.
Okay. Commissioner Bernard?
Yeah, I guess I didn't really know who to address this to, but I guess, you know, back when we had our little range here a week or so ago, I noticed we're not having much luck on Polk Street. You know, I could almost take a little boat down through there. I don't know, it's just draining kind of back inwards to itself. I didn't know.
Correct.
You really looked into that.
Yes, Mayor, Commissioners, we actually have, that project is doing what it was designed to do, and that is to keep the rainwater out of those homes. It does divert it to the center of the street, where it does drain to the east down to 6th Street. The water doesn't move very fast because there's less than 6/10 of an inch of drop over 300 feet. And the only way to correct that would be to rebuild all of Polk Street out to 17th as well as 7th Street. Wyatt and I did meet with the engineer to make sure that it was built to spec, and that is the major problem, is that it is relatively flat, much like Lovington, but it is doing what it is supposed to do, keep it out of the homes. It just takes a while for it to drain off because of the lack of drop.
Just had a few people that were concerned.
Yes, sir.
about it. So,
Yes, sir.
thank you.
Commissioner Combs?
Speaking of water collection, the only thing I had, James, was one of my constituents reached out to me yesterday concerned about water collecting at their neighborhood. And if you recall, the Denko area, all they asked was that ditch area be mowed, because when the weeds grow taller, that the water doesn't flow like it should. He said otherwise, other than that, it does seem like it flows through. But he just asked that we keep that maintained if we could.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Gaines?
I discussed this with James earlier this week, but on like 11th Street, with as much rain and different stuff, the trees have overgrown, and that's the bus route. And if you're coming north up 11th Street, the buses are having to swing out of their lane to miss the branches that have grown down so low. And I just didn't know if we need to contact the neighbors or if the city needed to clean that up. So that, I didn't talk to him earlier, but I thought I'd let you guys know. So
Thank
that
you.
is a concern.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Other than that, I haven't.
Thank you. Chief Davis?
Nothing to report, sir.
Chief Sardo?
Nothing to report, sir.
James?
Only thing that I have to report is that we did complete the rebid package for the fire station project, and it was released today. The bids are due back by October 2nd, and we'll have it for commission consideration if we receive responses at the October 8th meeting.
Thank you.
Legal has nothing to report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Very
Guess
good.
you just let Patrick go on vacation for a little bit.
It's actually no trial.
Oh, try, okay. Thank you. All right, public comment? Anybody like to say anything? I'm looking at you, girl. Everybody good to go? Okay, moving forward to non-action items, James?
Mayor, Commissioners, in reviewing our boards and commissions that we do have Parks and Recreation Board and Youth Center Board appointments or reappointments that are coming up. So you have a list of the different terms that would actually be reset. So we have several appointments. We'll request anybody who's interested in serving on either of these boards to either get in contact with their city commissioner or let City Hall know, and we'll have this for consideration at the next city commission meeting.
Any questions by the board? Okay. Moving to action items, do I have a motion?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion for Resolution 2018-81, approval of capital outlay appropriations grant agreement between the city and the New Mexico DOT for the North Commercial Bypass Project, C-2642.
Second.
And a motion is second. James?
Mayor, Commissioners, we did at the last legislative session, we were granted a $125,000 capital outlay appropriation for phase 2 of our North Commercial project, which would finish out North Commercial from Van Buren, where we left off on phase 1, all the way out to the highway. This is a $1.4 million project, and it's a joint partnership between the city and the county, since we actually split responsibility of that roadway. Nice thing about it is that we did receive, we haven't received the official notification yet, but we were able to secure $1 million grant from NMDOT for this project. So the plans and designs are currently being finished up to make sure that they meet all the DOT specifications. As soon as we get the CERTPO grant, the $1 million grant agreement, we'll have that before the City Commission, and hopefully by that time we'll be able to actually go out to bid relatively quickly so we can get this project completed. Tonight we're just asking for commission approval of this agreement between the state and NMDOT.
James, on that one, will the water continue to drain south off that one? Is it going to be just similar to what we've already put in place?
Yes, sir.
You don't feel it'd be an overload headed that way? Or?
No, sir. Nice thing, Mayor and Commissioners, about this project is because of the lack of, I guess you would say, public facilities within the scope of the project, we're not having to make a lot of any curb or sidewalk improvements. So the drainage will still follow the regular course of drainage that's already set in place.
Any questions by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to consider Resolution 2018-82, approval of a contract between the City of Lovington and Southeastern New Mexico Economic Development District Council of Governments for fiscal agent services A18C 2522.
And motion and second by Arthur. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, of the 6 reauthorizations or appropriations we received from the state of New Mexico during the legislative session, we do have this particular project as well as our firing range, which is the next one, which are requiring a fiscal agent agreement. Both of these are relatively simple projects. However, prior to approval by the local government division who is administering both of these, we do need to have a fiscal agent agreement in place with our Southeastern Council of Governments. So that's what we are asking for tonight. With this particular project with the aerial apparatus, this will be used to equip the apparatus instead of using it for the actual purchase, since this is only a $50,000 appropriation.
And they are willing to be our fiscal agents?
Yes, sir.
James, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, Mr. Mayor, 2018-83, approval of a contract between the City of Lovington and Southeastern New Mexico Economic Development District Council of Governments for Fiscal Agent Services, A1, 8C 2523.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Campos.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is another grant that is being administered by local government division that requires a fiscal agent. This is for our police department firing range. This is another $50,000 appropriation that will be used to provide security fencing around the facility in our well field.
Mr. Campos.
No, I'm good.
That's going to include cameras, everything with that, fencing go along with it, or just the fencing?
Just the fencing, sir. And anything else that we can use to equip the firing range.
On this resolution, other than us and Lee County, does anybody else contribute to this, like Lee County, or anybody else that utilizes that facility? Chief?
Yes, sir. We use it, Lee County Sheriff's Office uses it, New Mexico State Police uses it, as well as the GEO prisons.
Do they contribute to anything?
GEO prisons helps us maintain the facility out there, cleaning it. Any upgrades that we need to do, they usually get the inmates to go out there. The Sheriff's Office, if we need something, depending on what it is, they usually help us out pretty good. New Mexico State Police, to date, they have not contributed.
But they don't use it as much, right? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, resolution 2018-84, approval of Boulevard subdivision preliminary plat. I'm not really sure what that is, so I see Ms. Ball coming forward.
Second.
I have a second by Commissioner Campos. Go ahead, Crystal.
We have does everybody know this location that we're speaking of?
No, ma'am.
West of the church.
So, yeah, this is, this is Jefferson Avenue, and the Methodist Church, or the, which church is that? What?
Mormon church.
The Mormon Church.
Oh, okay.
Sits right off over here. 17th would be off this direction. So it's north of the bus barn area, out there in that pasture.
You know where that the old Chesapeake well is out there?
Yeah, I see it.
It's between there and there.
So this little picture right here is kind of turned sideways. North is actually over here. This is where Jefferson is, and this is the church here. What they're requesting is they're going to, they're wanting to subdivide this area into 5, well, it's actually going to be 6 lots. 5 will be located up front with access off of Jefferson, and then the 1 lot will be back here in the back. It's a much larger area. They're wanting to sell these off individually for homes or mobile homes to be placed on.
Is that city or county? That be city or?
It's city.
It is city. And you said either mobile homes or
or site-built homes.
And there's no housing code
There-
in that area? or-
There is houses on the north side of Jefferson there, in between 9th and 17th. There's a
But
whole-
that doesn't cover that area in the code? That they would have
Yeah,
to be
this is a B zone,
a B zone?
is what this would be. So it is established for mobile homes or site-built homes.
Just wait, quick question.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Do you have any reservations about this?
I kind of worry about what the people across the street are gonna say if a mobile home's placed there instead of a site-built home. But, you know, we can't, unless we change the zone, which is not what the owners are requesting. They're liking the B zone where it can be used for duplex or individual home or a mobile home.
How is that going to affect them with the active well site? How far away from the active well site are they? Because I know that like in some,
You could see it right down in here.
because I know some,
It's actually further south. Here it is in this picture. So these lots will be up at the front over here.
but there's like a footage, we talked about that about some other property, and I can't remember what that footage is,
Okay.
from trying to get a loan on a certain house. And what was that, James? I thought it was you I was talking to.
This was commercial. There's, Mayor Commissioners, there's been issues with individuals wanting to either purchase homes that are currently zoned commercial. They've had problems getting loans on that. But with this, even though it does abut a commercial property, this is Zone B, so there might not be any financing issues.
So it is commercial, James, is that what you said?
No, it's B.
Oh, it's B?
No, it's B zone.
B.
Multi-family
Okay.
apartments, trailer houses. Now, on the east side of the property there's a gap. Is that supposed to be a road right away or what?
That is the 42-foot easement for the access to the back portion of the property, the south lot 6
They're
is
not
to
going
the
to carry
south.
13th Street or nothing
Mm-mm,
out?
no. It would be used for private access only to that back lot. It would not be a public street.
So how large is that back lot? How many acres is that? So basically they're planning to put an individual's home on the back lot and then have the,
That's what they've thought about doing, yes. They haven't really decided for sure. That back portion is a little over, well, it's almost 4 acres. Lot 6 is almost 4 acres in size.
how wide would it, if you were to continue 13th that way, how much more of that spacing would you have to eat up over there?
They actually have left a 20-foot alleyway for utilities to be in, and then they have the 42. So there would be a 62-foot easement, which the 13th is only a 60-foot easement right across the street from it.
My thought process is if at a later date they decided to change their mind and not build the home there, and then wanted to add on, make sure that they had plenty of room and footage away from everything, that they could make that a continuation of 13th Street and, add some more houses or trailer homes or whatever into that area, so.
And that is why we went with that they had to leave the 20 and the 42. This would be their personal, but if they ever changed it, then this whole 62-foot would be counted.
Does that still give them, even with off the property line, enough footage away from the edge of the street, the sidewalk on that one piece of property? Or is it pretty close there?
Yeah, that would be cutting it close.
So your recommendation is to approve, is that correct?
That is what P&Z went with. We did do some discussions on the water loop. They actually had it drawn in where the water comes from here and comes around and just stops. But they are actually going to loop it all the way back up to Jackson. The sewer line starts here and goes into Jefferson. but they've requested that this not be the dead end here, that the dead end be moved back to the center or past the center of this lot 5. And that's just so there's no issues with the utilities. And they were requested that all the water meters and sewer taps would be in this alleyway. And they have already sent me a revised plat, I just got it today, of it shows those utilities being changed as P&Z requested.
Why, any issues from your standpoint?
No, Mayor and Commission, Darren and Miguel both made the changes, and that's what they suggested as far as when the site plan and everything, just like the Sunrise Edition, that all the utilities put in place during the construction, and the water line being moved, so everything has been changed according to.
I honestly don't like it. It's my honest opinion. I don't like it. You can't grow from it, whatever. But that's fine.
Any other questions? Roll call vote in, please.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Commissioner Campos,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
No.
Mayor Trujillo.
Yes. Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we consider resolution 218-75, approval of variance and encroachment of carport at 753 South 3rd Street, Lovington, New Mexico.
This piece of property, we have a carport that was put up.
Hold on.
Do we have a second?
We got a second. Wait
sorry.
a second.
I'll second it. I didn't think we had a second.
Commissioner Gandy.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Everybody's still thinking about the last one.
Yeah, I'm still human, sorry.
We have a carport up that has encroached on the street right away just a little bit. And the owner of the property and the renter of the property, the renter is the one who bought the carport. The owner of the property has rented that space to this person. The carport was put up, as you can see here. This is the approximate right of way. This is on 3rd Street. There is a very large 80-foot right-of-way in this area. There is over 19 foot from the curb to the carport. The property owner doesn't want the fences damaged to her properties, so therefore she did not want the carport to be moved back further. So she has requested, along with the renter, for a variance on, of course, the concrete drive and the no setbacks for the front and the encroachment of the 3 foot. P&Z did approve this. Both of these lots, these mobile homes, are rented spaces. Both enter from right here is the curb cut, and they both enter through this one drive to both these properties. We did make the stipulation in P&Z that if the right-of-way ever needed to be expanded or sidewalks added, things like that, that it would have to be removed, and also that the tenant who is now renting the property, if he ever moves, it would move at that time.
So this is a resolution with stipulations.
Huh?
This is a resolution with stipulations, correct?
Mm-hmm. Conditions, yes.
So we got an 80-foot easement and an entrance to 2 homes with one curb cut.
Mm-hmm. And we have this issue along 3rd Street a lot, because I don't think anybody's ever thought this was an 80-foot easement.
That's pretty wide. 3rd Street.
oh, she says it used to be the old Edith trailer court, this area, but then parts of it were sold off.
What's the other street there in the corner there? Third and,
G to the south side, yeah. Which I'm not sure how well you can see these pictures, but it shows the entrance here and the carport.
And all she's wanting to do is just move it forward, how far you say, or?
Just to leave it as is.
Oh, just leave it as it is.
It just live 3 feet. Was it 3 feet off? Is that what you said?
It is 3 foot 10 inches into the easement.
Right there where that line's at. It's
tell me,
carport, that's
tell me the stipulations again?
That if we ever needed the easement to expand, they would remove it, or that when the renter of this mobile home, when he moves his mobile home out of that location, the carport would be moved, he would move that off.
I think I'd have done it different. I think I made them do a curb cut, just so you, but that's me. So.
I mean, if that is something city commission wants to. That's you guys' decision.
That's fine. I understand the 80-foot easement. That's kind of excessive in that area. I understand it's not encroachment, but I would have done something with the.
Yeah, in fact, the house across the street, the easement goes right up to their patio.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, we have there's a lot of issues down 3rd Street with it almost being from house to house across their 80 foot.
Sweet. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions, Brother Boyd? All in favor? Oh, go ahead, Art. Excuse me.
Where the opening is where they come in,
Mm-hmm.
is that about the center of the property?
Yeah.
Or they can? go
Yeah,
around?
it's directly in the center of both of these properties.
I'll vote yes with reservations.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Okay. Make a motion that we consider resolution 218-86 approved to advertise ordinance 562 that will annex 4 tracts of land located to the east of 3801 Hobbs Highway, Lovington, New Mexico. Petroplex, acidizing, and assigned zoning as Zone C, commercial.
Second.
It's seconded by Commissioner Campos.
Well, we have down south of town here, the animal shelter is here right to the north of Petroplex. These 2 tracts of property that they own are actually in the ETZ. They are zoned as an R1, and so therefore in something the company had to do with the property, they need to have this changed, and they just wanted to go ahead and annex, so it would be, all this property would be now the city limits. This portion up front is already city limits commercial zone. So they're just wanting to annex in these back 2 tracts as commercial zone properties.
And the reason for it is mainly just tie into utilities, or?
It's to clean up their titles for
Oh,
their
okay.
for their property, for their
Okay.
company.
Any discussion?
Good.
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a resolution 2818-87, allowing permit inspection to be conducted by Lee County for the Lee County Fair and Rodeo.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Campos. James?
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, in our city code, it actually requires that every circus or carnival that comes into the city limits has to be inspected and permitted by the city of Lovington, and that part of that permit process is by adopting a resolution by the city commission. This is actually, this item was brought forth by Crystal previously, and is kind of tied to another item we have at the last, before our accounts payable, but One thing that we have discussed with the county is considering that I believe we're coming up on our 83rd year of the Lee County Fair and Rodeo. We're confident that the county employees are able to assure that all of the rides and amenities that are in the annual Lee County Fair and Rodeo that can continue to be inspected for compliance with insurance and the Carnival Rides Safety Act by the state of New Mexico. What this resolution does is this grants that authority for the county to continue doing that so that every year we do not have to pass a resolution. It's just removing some of that bureaucracy as far as having that great annual event.
Any discussion by the board?
So next year we don't have to do this again.
Correct,
If we
sir.
pass it.
This resolution is only for the annual Lee County Fair and Rodeo. Any other circus or carnival, city staff will still have to perform those inspections. But of course, those are also at a much smaller scale.
We're not charging a fee, are we?
Actually, it costs $25 for
That's
the.
cheap, man, brother. We're not making no money, especially with Wyatt. He's like $100 an hour person. ain't he? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2018-88, approval of the 2020-2024 ICIP.
Second by Commissioner Sanchez. James, go ahead.
Mayor and Commissioners, so it's that time of year again where we need to formally approve our ICIP. We did upload a draft of this document, and of course we do need to decide what our top 5 priorities from a legislature appropriation standpoint is. So we actually have a couple of projects that staff have discussed that I think we ought to bump up, and they're projects that we could actually make some substantial headway on should we receive a capital outlay appropriation. So some of the projects that we have, of course, is our Veterans Memorial. If you do recall that we did enter into an MOU with Lee County as a joint project for a Veterans Memorial to be located somewhere in downtown Lovington. This would be a partnership where we act as the fiscal agent. At the end of it, we would actually own and maintain this property. So I know the county manager and I have kind of put some preliminary estimates together on this, but from anywhere from property acquisition to planning, design, construction, it's about a $2.1 million project. We're calling it the Veterans Memorial Park, just giving us that extra opportunity to seek any other type of funding. When we use the term park, it's not a playground. It's basically an outdoor open space that would be respectful to our veterans, that would house a Veterans Memorial that, per our MOU, we would work with the County Veterans Memorial Committee to make sure that this is something that's very respectful. But we do need to place this project on our ICIP, not only for eligibility for state funding, but any other type of federal funding as well. Another suggestion that we have was not that slide, but we also are looking at our Chaparral Park Amphitheater. As you are aware, our amphitheater has been around, I believe, since that park was built back in the early 60s. It is starting to show its age, but what we are wanting to do is to replace this structure to make sure that it has the electrical upgrades to where we could host concerts out at the park without the use of a generator, has appropriate lighting, and also to help accommodate any other type of outdoor events that may require audio and visual support. We also are looking at our Commercial Street baseball complex, the restrooms and concessions. Right now, those restrooms actually need to be demolished and replaced. We're estimating this project is going to be about a $250,000 project. We do need to replace the concession stands as well, some ADA improvements at the facility. One thing that we had pondered was also, instead of limiting it to a permanent structure, perhaps purchasing concession trailers. That way, when we do have large events such as softball tournaments where you have multiple teams from out of town, we could actually position another concession stand at the softball complex, or even at some of our baseball events that we have. Something a little bit more portable. However, this unit would remain at the Commercial Street baseball complex unless it was moved for another event. Another project that we have, of course, is restoring our fountain and stream. As you're aware, we actually have a circulating pump in there. However, we do need to line the original stream out there with concrete. It would be a sculpted riverbed. We're estimating that this is about a $287,000 project that would also require us to replumb the fountain portion to where it would feed directly off of the water well. Of course, we are in continual need of another capital purchase, about $240,000 per unit for our ambulances. With the amount of miles that the fire department are putting on these units, it is requiring constant replacement. We may actually be to that point to where we can start a remount program. However, with chassis design changes and also the safety standards that are coming out by the federal government, seems like every year, remounting is getting to be harder and harder. Also, the fire department is in need of a rescue vehicle. Right now, they do not have one consolidated rescue unit. They do have their fire apparatus equipped with some hydraulic tools for car accidents. However, there is more equipment for a rescue apparatus, and they currently do not have a vehicle that can take that, but probably around a $250,000 investment for this particular project as well. And then our last, actually we have two more. We do have in our ICIP, and we're thinking that it might be the time to bump this up, is for our northwest water tower. This would actually be located on the same property as the fire station. If you had looked at the plans on the new fire station, we did leave some property there set aside for a new water tower. Per our comprehensive plan, growth is going to be going in that direction, and this would increase the availability and pressure for continued growth and expansion to the north. And then our last project, of course, is an asset management plan. What this asset management plan would do is it would provide an assessment for all of our underground utilities in addition to roads, but this would identify the management, the estimated or a schedule of replacement, and also identify how to finance some of these plans. With some of the grant opportunities that are out there, or even loans programs, you are required to have an they're beginning to make the requirement that you do have an actual engineered asset management plan in place before you can even apply. So these are the top projects that we've identified. What we're requesting is that the commission tonight at least identify the top 5 projects. Take the time to do that, to identify the top 5, listing priority 1 through, I believe it's 10, or just identify your top 5, where we can move all of these projects up in the order that was presented tonight.
Any questions about the board?
And the asset management plan, James, would be third-party data, is that correct?
Correct, sir, yes.
Almost think that would probably be priority, wouldn't it? Asset management plan for the future? Or?
With the asset management plan, there are a couple of opportunities that we have to where we can receive grants for this particular project that would not involve capital outlay appropriations. So I would recommend moving that up into our top 10, but not necessarily our top 5.
James, bearing in mind that our current economic status, which is good right now, how likely is that capital outlay appropriation to come down?
Actually, Mayor and Commissioners, we attended the capital outlay workshop the other day, and I know that as of 2 weeks ago when we had that workshop, they basically anticipated the same amount of funding available for capital outlay as we had last year. But if you have seen in the news, there is apparently going to be a predicted surplus at the state. So I would think that we have a possibility of receiving the same amount of funding this year as we did last year, maybe a slight increase.
And how much was that?
We received 175, or no, about $175,000 this past year. No, I'm sorry, 225,000. 225,000.
Is everybody fine with the order?
We don't have to identify more than they do.
Mayor Commissioners, yes, we do need to make a decision tonight.
What,
Yes,
the
sir.
top five, correct?
Yeah.
At least our top 5, yes, sir.
You want my top 5, or how you want to come about this top 5?
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
open for discussion.
So,
Yes, sir.
in my opinion, we'll start from the bottom and go up. Veterans number 5, the veteran park number 5. The asset management number 4. The restrooms number 3. The fountain number 2. And the amphitheater number 1. I really like that idea. I have no idea why.
But the asset, you said that it wouldn't, it doesn't really need to be in the top 5, though. That's what you said,
Correct, sir.
right?
That would be my recommendation.
Because the funds were not appropriate.
You asked my opinion.
No, I like your idea. I just want to move it down
I
to
just
number
figured,
5
you know,
and
get
put the
it
veterans.
hammered out of the
memorial.
way, that we were above the curve instead of behind the curve. That was my thought process behind
No,
it.
no, not, I understand that. I agree with you on that.
If not, then throw an ambulance, because with the way things are going, I'm just a stroke and need to ride. So,
I don't have a sheet where I can see what we need.
Well, really, I guess, Veterans Memorial, we got, that's something, comes up, we're gonna roll with that. I know everybody in here probably agrees with that. You have to support that. Amphitheater, rescue vehicle replacement, and a Northwest Water Tower. That's, and I know that's for, we just gotta,
Those are restrooms.
Okay, we could start.
You're a parks kind of guy.
Let's just start from the top. Number 1, let's find out what we'll do. All agree on number 1 should be. Let's
I like that, yeah, keep that county veterans memorial.
yes, that's a must.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Majority one, number,
Yeah,
Veterans
veterans,
Memorial, number 1.
Yeah, the veterans, yeah, that'd be 1.
Number 2. You guys agree on number 2 would be?
I think the ambulance replacement is probably more important than that, because we're talking about, the health and well-being of the community, so I would like to see that pretty high. Would you guys agree with that?
I agree.
Like I said, I'm gonna stroke out, so.
Okay, we'll go with that one too. Number 3.
I like the bathrooms in Chaparral, commercial street rather, and the concessions.
Yeah, I like
They
that
do have
idea
a
with
lot
the
of baseball
concessions.
tournaments and things, and a lot of people come, and those bathrooms are a mess.
Yeah, we get a lot of complaints about that, so
Yeah,
I
I've
like
had a
that
lot of
too.
people.
You know, the portable concession stand is ideal, because I think it's more economical for us. And then, like you said, we can move them around, that way we know they stay clean and up to spec. This other way, if we have to make modifications, it's gonna cost us more that way.
Yes, sir.
So I really like the portable versus the permanent, because we do have multi-parks that don't have it, so it'd be nice to move them around.
Actually, I like the portable part for the fact that, you can put them in a safe place and less susceptible to vandalism and different things
Exactly.
like that. So I
Exactly.
like that part.
Yeah, yeah. I like that idea.
What's for number 4? You
I
guys
want
okay?
the amphitheater. I want the stinking amphitheater. I don't know why, but I want the amphitheater.
Okay, give them the
The
amphitheater
amphitheater,
for
it
number.
does need replacing.
Number 4, amphitheater for number 4. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Compost?
And I was gonna ask you, James, I heard you mention the rescue vehicle replacement, and I know that's gonna carry like the Jaws of Life, stuff like that on it. What other kind of equipment will it carry, chief?
They would have the, what we call the airbags, stabilizations for rescues. Also our high angle rescue equipment and some of our air packs.
I think that's
Fine
important.
space.
And
Five spaces.
that is worth,
Number
The health and
5.
well-being of the
Yeah,
community.
Number
so-
5, so that would be number 5,
Yeah,
then,
let's
James.
do it.
Theater number 4 and number 5 would be the,
you have to think about
is that all you need, just top 5?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
so when I'm rescued, I want to be with those nice airbags.
Okay, all in favor?
I think we need to make a motion first. You know.
Oh, yeah,
Make a
you
motion.
go in there? Okay, let's go ahead and make that.
We need
Who
to amend the
made that
motion.
motion? Good job.
Scotty made the motion.
I made the motion.
Scotty? Yes, sir.
I'm in my motion. Let me figure out where I did just 1 second, I apologize. It was. All right, I'd like to amend my motion to say, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for the resolution 2018-88, approval of 2020 and 2024 ICIP, with the top 5 being the number 1, Veterans Memorial Park, number 2, the ambulance, number 3, the commercial street restrooms and concession, number 4, the commercial park,
No,
not
Amherst.
Chaparral, excuse me, Chaparral Park Amphitheater, and number 5 was the rescue vehicle for the fire department.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sanchez. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a
Motion that we,
Go ahead.
that we consider accounts payable.
Nope,
No, we got one.
One more.
Right above that.
89.
One more before that.
I'll make it. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2018-89, approval of the Carsons and Barnes Circus permit September 19th, 2018.
Second it.
Second by Commissioner Bernard. James?
Mayor and Commissioners, this is actually the other item that we were talking about. This is Carson and Barnes would like to have a circus out at the Lee County Fairgrounds. This would be one of those events that would be inspected by local staff. We're just asking that the permit be approved, contingent that they meet all of the requirements as set forth in our ordinance.
Any discussion by the board? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion we consider accounts payable.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gandy. Gary?
Well, your mayor and commission, I'm assuming you all have access to the list of the payables on our list. And starting on the first page, the third item on the list was the admin office of the courts. That's a standard judicial fee we pay for lab costs for DWI inspections for the people that are brought in. And then below that, the Alice Training Institute is part of the police training for the police department. And then below that is the Alsco supplies. That's medical supplies, predominantly linen and things of that nature for our ambulances. And then below that, the American Lifeguard, or pool supplies. It's related to what the lifeguards would need, you know, the little float things to throw out and stuff like that. And then moving down, I would go down to the California contract supplies. Those were for our wastewater department, and they need things like some heavy-duty gloves, oxidized wrenches, some kind of headlamps, and things like that for the wastewater department. That's the $1,191. And then the just below that, the certified laboratories. Our street department needed some more equipment oil, and we bought it through them. And then one thing I really like, and you can see it laying on our desks, the consensus planning, the MRA plan update. This should be our final payment, this $13,124. And then below that, the single largest expenditure, the $871,818, is to Constructors, Inc. for the 17th Street project. And I'm not sure if that's the final payment or not, but we still have another payment pending. And then I would move down to the usual things that we get from Dana Nepper, predominantly the water department, buying a lot of clamps and things, meter parts, things like that. And then below that, the Don Chalmers Ford for $45,620. This is our handicap van for the senior center with the new handicap lift on the back. It works really nice, and it looks really sleek too. And then below that, I would go down to the ESCO environmental. So that's required sampling that we have to have done for our water wells and our water system. And then as we move down, I would go down to the game time. Our parks department needed some repairs on the rock wall and belts and things like that for the swings. And then if we move down to Jay's Incorporated, staying on the first page, the $2,448 is predominantly the replacement of an air conditioner for the fire department. And then just below that, the John's Carpet Barn, the youth center. Their new computer lab, they had some floor installed there, and then some floor work in the main office of the youth center. And then I would skip down to the, I thought it was interesting, Lowe's near the bottom of the page, the $2,686. The animal control needed a couple of those big heavy-duty cooler things with the fans, so they bought a couple of those. And then below that, of course, Michael's prescription, the usual ambulance supplies, the medical things. And then the Midwest Vet is related to paying for our spay, neuter, even euthanasia, and then some other supplies through the Midwest Veterinary. And that was the $6,097. Moving on to the next page, top item on the list, I thought it was interesting because of the success that the police department has had with the network monitoring of the police vehicles. We also have our public works departments gotten on board with that. So a large part of that $1,428, over $900 of it was spent for the equipment to put on several of the pickups and vehicles for the public works department. And then of course we had the monthly service charge for the police department vehicles. And then I'd move down to the Odessa pumps and equipment. Our wastewater departments needed to spend some money renting pumps lately. Not because of Jefferson and Ninth, but because of issues like that. And then below that we have the physio control. That's again another service plan for our ambulance department. And then below that we have the professional communications. The $1,112 would be predominantly parts for radios for the police department. And then of course that large $117,000 for Reed Insurance is for liability insurance payment that we have. And then as you move down to this, yeah.
That 117 is for Ramirez and Sons. That's for Life Street.
Oh, yeah, got that mixed up. Okay. Thank you. Just above it. And then below that, our little Sam's Club expenditure of $1,300, predominantly related to upgrade on our coffee machines and coffee supplies. And in Shopco Hometown, the $3,000, a large portion of that has to do with our youth center summer programs and the supplies they needed for that. And then the Stryker Sales Corporation is who we work with for our ambulance, and they call it the Pro Care Service, which basically is a service contract for our power load systems and our stretchers for the ambulance department. And then of course our Cisco West Texas are supplies for the senior center, buying food supplies. And then the Travelers is related to training for the police department. And then the last thing I would mention is the V Academy Savant Learning System. That's an annual online training for all of our police department. And if you have any other questions, I'm available for answers.
Did you repeat that?
Yes, I'll start at the top.
I've got one.
Yes, sir.
There's one that says, I think it's maybe Rosa Arroyo or Roxana Reyes. One of them's got $1,371.
Is that on the first page?
No, the last page.
Sam got 1,370.
Down by Robert's Oil.
Sam's Club.
Okay.
Oh, right. man,
Oh,
right.
yes,
Oh,
sir. That was
$250
for
you got.
Sam's Club.
But you
and-
got $250, Roxanne is what he's referring to. Is that an employee or?
More than likely, Mayor and Commissioners, that is a refund of a deposit for rentals.
Yes, sir. That is what it's related to for the little park area.
Any other questions? We appreciate your report, Gary.
Thank you, sir.
Little lengthy. We're hoping to get out early, but it's all right. No, not really.
Well, I could go on some more.
No.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.